Hello everyone. So today I'm going to be doing a video response to Jasmine Ambrosia's video, Do You Split the Wheel of the Year? In her video, she talks about splitting the year in 3 different ways. I most resonated with the split of equinox to equinox. However, it still doesn't fully explain the way that I do it because I actually start seeing the darker half of the year beginning right at the start of August. So as soon as July is over and it's August 1st, it's already in the darker half for me. And then the lighter half starting instead of late February or in March, it's February 1st. And that wasn't because I decided those were cool numbers or months. It was just the way that it felt within my craft and my practice throughout the years. So I'm going to be focusing more on talking about the dark half of the year since that's where I currently am right now in time and place. And the way that came about had a lot to do with my ancestor work, my deity work, my spirit work. So why August? Why not September? Why not October? August and September seem to be the months that people in my family on both my paternal and maternal side happen to want to cross over. Meaning that a majority of the deaths of the loved ones that I've experienced have been during that time. And I guess I could go down the list just to give you a few examples, but I mean, even if you were following me last year around this time, you would have known that I lost a cousin and I lost one of my fur babies around this time. So that happened even as recent as last year. But the first time that it happened was when I lost my uncle slash godfather, because I was baptized Catholic. It was when I lost him and I was, I think, about to turn 12 because my birthday is in September. So I also felt like, instead of feeling like sorry for myself or sad that there was a lot of loss around the time that it was supposed to be a celebration for me because it was my birthday, it kind of felt like it happened because I wouldn't take it personally. And maybe that's weird to say, but that's just the way that I felt. I felt like, well, it's because it's not going to make you sad or it's not going to ruin your life to have your birthday around the deaths of your loved ones because your relationship with death is different than that of like other family members. But maybe that's just a way that I also cope with it. I don't know. Okay, so I just went over the ancestors, the blood ancestors reason as to why my dark half of the year starts on August. Now I wanted to go into more of, I guess, spiritual witchcraft related reason. And this has to do with deity work for me. Now, in the past and for many years, I would say more than half of my time as a practicing witch, I refused to work with any types of deities, gods, goddesses. And I know that that had a lot to do with the fact that I was raised Catholic and I didn't want to have anything to do with a god. And so I did not look to see if I matched with a god or goddess. I wasn't looking to work with them even in an archetypal sense. So I was just staying away from them altogether. I didn't have any problems, working with spirits or entities or even ancestors, as you know, but I just did not want to go to the gods, goddesses, deities route. So I always said, if I am going to be working with a god, goddess, deity, etc., it's because they're going to reach out to me. Earlier last year, I did get what I would call tapped on the shoulder, or in my experience, it was more like abruptly woken up by being yelled at. And that deity, I would consider this a death deity, I refuse to work with. Now, fast forward from then, anywhere from 2 to 4 months, and I was journeying, or some might consider this engaged in witch flight. And I was trying to get a message from two different animals that had been continuously showing up in my path, in comparison to like any other time. So something told me I needed to engage with them via witch flight, via journey. And when I did, they led me to this deity. You know, like no two journeys are alike, but a lot of the times you kind of map out where you're going and who you're trying to find. And in this case, I was already with these animals and they took me somewhere that I couldn't have planned to be taken. And as I was exploring that place, I came upon this deity. And it was maybe like not even an exact month after deciding to walk with this deity that my sister and I found out that our fur baby had an illness that he was probably not going to survive. And then within having to provide, you know, end of life care for him for, I think it was September, October, he died in December, for like 3 months, which was very draining, not just on ourselves and, you know, like financially, but just on everyone and in every way. My cousin passes away. And during the time that my cousin passes away, my house is at full capacity with my mother, my father, my sister, and my grandmother. And my cousin that passed away is related to the grandmother that was here. So, you know, having to deal with so much of that pain, sadness, grief, and overall darkness or like death during those times, I think would have just been so overwhelming had that death deity not showed up for me the way that she did. And I don't think it's a coincidence either that that other death deity was trying to reach out to me months prior to that. It's kind of like no matter what, some shit was gonna crack. That's the way that I see it. You know, working with this death deity has very much given me this different outlook. It also probably helps that this death deity is a bit of a trickster. And I feel like sometimes I embody that energy. So as we move into September, September is actually my birthday month. So I'm really focused on what I'm going to be doing ritual-wise for my birthday, because that is a time where I like to make a really big wish and really utilize my love for candle magic with that. It's also going to be a time where I'm going to be receiving gifts from loved ones. So I really bask in that feeling of being treated in that importance and being exalted and exalting myself, because I do think that that is important for everyone. I think everyone needs to have a moment, even if it's not their birthday, where they can put themselves on some type of a pedestal. And I don't care if you think that sounds cocky, it has helped so much with my own self-love journey, and nobody can convince me otherwise. Anyways, so now moving into October, we know we're deep into spooky season. Everybody's got Halloween on the mind, and I am no exception. A long time before I had stepped and embraced my witchhood, I was obsessed with Halloween. I was so obsessed with Halloween that I hated Christmas because it seemed like the opposite holiday. And this was like me not even knowing that I was ever going to like call myself a witch or anything like that. And I think a lot of witchy poos would probably resonate with that. Now, when it comes to October 31st, I see it as, in the past, I've seen it as the witch's new year, but recently I've seen it more as in like a witch's collective birthday. I also feel like it's a day to celebrate witches, period. Um, and that's how I see the 31st. But then, right after the 31st, and even actually on the 28th of October, we have different celebrations under the Dia de los Muertos Day of the Dead umbrella. So there's like this mixture going on during that time, and all of these things take preparation. So all these preparations are taking place late September into October. And what ends up happening around this time is I'm also kind of working up / building up energy in my own home towards my blood ancestor altar. And what I mean by that is that I encourage other members of the family to participate in putting up the altar, picking the decorations, picking the offerings, and just helping with putting the altar together, basically. And also just having them witness me care for that altar, well, throughout the entire year. But basically, when it's bigger, it requires more work because you're also putting up different types of offerings for different types of relatives. And then I'm a little more hardcore with my candle work and with the different type of offerings that I put on there. So that's going down the entirety of late September into October. And then the beginning of November is when the actual like Day of the Dead designated days are, but I extend my ancestor work the entire month sometimes. And for example, right now we're in not quite the middle of December, but I started doing even deeper ancestor work. And this is something that just seems appropriate for me during this time. So another thing that I like to do during December that I've done in the past is that this is when I start kind of working towards reviewing how things have been going through all of like the darker half of the year. And then towards the end of December is when I do more of like a full year review that covers the lighter half as well as the darker half. And all of this reviewing is in preparation for what's going to be happening in January, or more like the first week or two of January, which is planning. So goals set after the review, right? Like that's the way that I think is most logical to do. So yeah, I like to review at the end of December, working from the darker half and then extending it, encompassing the entire year. And then in the beginning of January is when, based off of that review, I'm going to go ahead and make the larger plans for the year in terms of what kind of things I want to observe, what holidays I want to try to incorporate and celebrate. And maybe that could be with myself, with friends, or with just like my nuclear family. Now, I'm thinking of doing a follow-up video later on the light half of the year, when I'm actually in the light half of the year. So that's going to be like months from now. So hopefully I remember. But I really enjoyed doing this video reply to Jasmine's video. I also love saying her name for some reason. I don't know why. But, and I encourage other people to also participate, because I think it's a good exercise, but also something that you should have in your grimoire or book of shadows. Like when it's this season, you do X, Y, and Z, and not just you do this, but why do you do this? Like, why are you observing this holiday or this celebration? Why is it something that resonates deep within you? Does it make sense, or does it just feel good? And maybe you don't want to do this, but I like to know my whys. So yeah, these are just some of my whys. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.